Hello and welcome to a very last-minute edition of the Sofa Sports News podcast, brought to you by the FNX Network. I'm your host, Harry Simew, and this evening I'm joined by the man they call the Fisherman. Welcome, Mr. Simon Alavi. How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Not too bad. I hear you're stuck in the snow.
Yeah. When you live in a little Emmerdale village like me, mate, you just get stuck, abandon the car. So if anyone sees a car outside in the middle of a road in Hertfordshire, it's mine.
Fortunately, you were able to get your Sky satellite signal working, though.
Oh, that was
That's
worrying.
the main thing.
Was worrying. Yeah. No, it was all good. It was all good.
Good stuff. And we are also joined by Sofa Sports News regular, Mr. Daniel DeLuca. Dan, how's it going?
Really old. You live in Wales, you know the meaning of snow. You've never seen snow. You don't even know what snow is.
I hear it's
going very well, thank you.
I hear it's significantly worse up there. Is that right?
It snows in the summer, but when the winter comes, you can't see your car. I don't know where my house is. I could be anywhere.
I mean, you had cars up there, so yeah.
Right, plenty of football to discuss today. It was a great day to be snowed in, to be fair.
Yeah.
Some great games. And we will start off at St Mary's, where Arsenal snatched a draw thanks to super sub Olivier Giroud. Dan, I'm going to start with you on this one. What did you make of Arsenal's performance overall? Was a draw the fair result?
Probably not. I mean, Southampton will feel that they deserve more, but then they missed a hatful of chances. I think obviously the one that hit the bar will be the one they'll turn to, and then Nathan Redmond missed a one-on-one straight after. Arsenal obviously stuck at it, having Giroud to bring off the bench. He's a good weapon. He's joint second now, substitute goals in Premier League history, joint with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So, Southampton probably just about deserved a little bit more, but they can't complain too much probably.
Yeah. What did you make of the penalty appeal? There are some Arsenal fans who feel they should have been awarded a penalty when Alexander Lacazette appeared to be caught. It has to be said after his shot went miles over the bar. Dan, what did you make of that?
Well, after the game, someone texted me about the penalty appeal, and I didn't even know what they were talking about to start with. And then when I saw what it was, I kind of laughed a bit, then I cried a little bit. Was the foul after the shot or after they found the ball? I couldn't actually understand what had gone on there. That's not a penalty for me. These are the sort of discussions that because my soul hurts when we're talking about giving penalties for that sort of stuff.
Alavi, what about you? What did you make of that incident? By the rules,
I would give a penalty. Yeah, I mean, sorry. I think because you can't just say because the ball went over it's not a penalty. You know, a foul is a foul. Bad play is bad play. Or if the manager goes and does something on the touchline, he gets sent off. You know, there's always repercussions. It's sort of irrelevant whether the ball's just gone out of play or is taking a shot. So I think you've got to give a penalty. Although I do think, again, it's going to be what Arsenal look to go on about rather than the absolutely calamitous defending by not just Mertesacker, but from the highlights I've seen, every single Arsenal defender seemed to just be on an off day. Sanchez has given the ball away some sort of record amount, which is obviously quite frightening. So, yeah, it was a penalty for me, but it's just typical of an Arsenal-way performance at the moment for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think if there's anyone who's hiding behind that decision as the reason for why Arsenal didn't win today, I think they're seriously deluded. But yeah, I agree with what Alavi's saying in terms of the fact that where the ball goes, it shouldn't be relevant. For example, if you was to misplace a pass in the centre of midfield and you got taken out, the way Lacazette did, the referee would still pull it back and give a foul. Irrespective of whether your pass reached its intended target or not. So that for me is not a valid excuse. And I think it was Graham Poll on BT Sport who said, by law, that is a penalty, but no referee would give that. Well, what does that mean? What's the point in having laws if we're going to just choose to ignore them? Dan, you've got your head in your hands. I know.
You turned me to the wine. You've turned me to the wine. I take the point about a foul in the middle of the park. There's a difference between the ball being in play and not being in play. Like when people are holding from a corner, the ref will blow and he'll go and have a little chat and the ball stays in the angle waiting for play to restart. I just think, right, there are laws, and I have not read the laws as many times as you, clearly. I know roughly what they are. Let's put the laws to one side in a minute. Do you really, deep down in your heart, want a penalty for that? That's the thing I'm struggling with. I can't imagine that every Arsenal fan wants that penalty. Maybe a few diehards, a few bitter ones, and then a couple of neutrals. And Alavi's pretty consistent with these sort of things. So I'll take Alavi. Alavi, he would say this irrespective of who it is. And I just can't believe there are many people who want penalties given for that. If a penalty was given against you for that, you'd cry. You'd be in tears. Like, I just can't.
Not like it's soft. He's still taking him out. Like, the way you're talking is as if he's gone down really softly. Like, he's taking him out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird one because ultimately, he slipped, hasn't he? He slipped and he's wiped him out, which shouldn't really matter. And if the ball's in play, I'd give a penalty. But the fact that the ball it's not on the pitch anymore. It's done. It's finished. The move's over.
But I don't think you can.
But I don't think he has slid. I think he's gone for the. He's actually fouled him.
It's a really poorly timed tackle.
Slip, I think you should get away with it. I'm one of those people.
I honestly think watch it again.
Ball at someone's hand really hard and get a penalty. I don't think you can slip over, take someone out, and get a penalty. I think you have to mean it, or at least put yourself.
Yeah, I think you want to watch that again, and you watch it again. His back leg goes. He goes steaming into the block. And then the shot goes and his back leg goes under him and the rest of his momentum follows through. And he takes, obviously, Lacazette a bit of the pitch. Probably a couple of players out with him by the time he finished sliding. But, yeah, if Spurs got given a penalty for that, I would leave the stadium in embarrassment and then come back after he'd either scored or missed it.
Let's move on to the Merseyside derby. So that game wasn't without a controversial penalty incident. First of all, we're going to start with that because that is what everybody's talking about. Alavi, was it a penalty?
What, the Lovren one? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I didn't really think that was even debatable, to be honest. It's not one of those where you can go in the dressing room later and say, I just mistimed the tackle, or the ball was going in and I did a Suarez and pushed it over and, at least my team have maybe not lost the game. Like, there's just no reason for it. Like, it's just a stupid thing to do. I honestly didn't think it was. I'm trying to be consistent through what I've said previously. And yeah, if you're giving the Arsenal one a couple of weeks ago, then you've got to give that one as well, right? I mean, it's just madness. And he was poor all game, actually. He really was, Lovren.
Well, Jurgen Klopp was pretty unhappy with the decision. I don't know if anyone saw his post-match interview. He appeared to get just a little bit hot under the collar. DeLuca, I know you wasn't quite sure, was you, whether this was a penalty or not? And
this is on the line for me, and I gave it, and I can give the listeners my reasons why I give this sort of penalty. And we know I'm notorious for having different rules in the penalty box to everyone else, so you just got to accept that. The reason I gave this one, look, let's start with Klopp, right? What Klopp said in his interview was very much what was in my against column, because Calvert-Lewin has essentially put himself in a place where the defender has to foul him. So you could call it clever forward play, as a lot of people do. But by the same token, like, sometimes there's clever defensive play as well that tends to always get punished, whereas clever forwards tend to get away with it. So that's my issue. I think Calvert-Lewin sort of stopped dead knowing Lovren was coming. Now, Lovren, what he was doing, I don't understand, and this is my issue with it. And the reason I gave this penalty I would give this penalty is because the ball was completely under control. There was no chance of Lovren getting it whatsoever. And you add those two things up, and Lovren runs into the back of him, and he falls over. It's hard not to be given that penalty there. But I could understand why Klopp was upset, and I think he was more upset than me because his team have just dominated the game for 95 minutes in a derby, and he hasn't won. So I think he's obviously going to overreact a little bit as a result of that.
I think you've got to look at the facts that Lovren's put his hands on him as well, which makes it even easier for the referee to give. Because, like you said, Calvert-Lewin's put himself in a position in front of the defender. He's got there. And, if there's a tangle of legs there, then I'm with you, Dan. I'll say, it's just he's got in the way. there's a tangle of legs. But the fact Lovren puts his hands on his back surely made the referee's mind up for him.
Yeah, I think my issue with what Lovren's done and why it needs to be a penalty in this case is if you're jumping, your hands have got to go somewhere. But there was absolutely no need. So I obviously disagreed with you quite vigorously on the Burnley Arsenal one a couple of weeks ago. But this is a bit different to that for me in the sense that Lovren just did not need to have his hands up at all whatsoever. There was actually no requirement at all. And he's a terrible defender. He's an appalling defender. And why he's still playing at the centre-half for Liverpool, I have no idea. But if you add it all up, you can't go steaming into the back of people like that for no apparent reason and expect to get away with it. And they were punished.
Oh, he's lucky. He's lucky he's got someone as good as Mo Salah, who Harry owes an apology to keep digging him out of trouble.
Oh, I was waiting for you to bring this up.
I'd like a personal apology and one to my friend Mr. Salah as well.
What I will say is that during his time at Chelsea, he didn't show me enough to prove that he could come to the Premier League and cut it. But he has. Fair play to him. I hold my hands up. I was wrong. Mo Salah is a fantastic player. But then it begs the question, doesn't it? Why did Jurgen Klopp take him off the pitch at just 1-0? Is there a bit of arrogance there from Klopp, or is his team suffering physically, having played in the Champions League? There's midweek games again this week. What was the reason for that? Has Klopp ultimately cost his team the game, Alavi?
I think I couldn't understand that one because he's by far their best player. He's not just quick in the sense that you can use him in a counter attacking way. He just stretches the opponent so badly that you just think, why have you taken him off at such a crucial point? I don't know if he's just thinking, I'm going to save him, or I really couldn't work out unless there's an injury we don't know about, unless he was just frustrated because of the way Allardyce was playing when he switched to 4-2-3-1 with Calvert-Lewin up front, and when he was quite negative. I mean, Klopp must have had like 85% possession or something. So I really don't. I can't explain why he went off. I don't know if it's something we're going to learn a bit later down the line. But it doesn't make any sense to me. In fact, a few of his team selections recently, Klopp have been a bit sort of mystifying, haven't they? I mean, Coutinho and Firmino both didn't start today, did they? So I'm not really working it out at all with him. I don't know if he's being different for the sake of it, or there's something we just don't know that's going on. What
about from an Everton point of view? Does Sam Allardyce deserve any credit today, or was he just fortunate that on another day Liverpool could have put 5 or 6 past them, and he's got a decision late on, and is it just a bit of luck for Sam Allardyce, or does he deserve credit? Were Everton any better than they have been? Did you see any signs of improvement, Dan?
Well, he's gone straight to the heart of the problem. They were shipping far too many goals in the first few weeks of the season. They were getting beat 4-0, 4-0, 4. They let 5 once, didn't they? They got smashed up.
That was against us.
Was it against you? Okay, well, there you go. That's shocking. Yeah, it was against you. I remember it now. So the first thing he's going to come in, that's why they brought Sam Allardyce in. There's no way Sam Allardyce gets the Everton job at the beginning of the season. He gets it now because there's goals being shipped and they need to stop it. So the first thing he's going to come in, he's going to steady things up, and he's done that. Can he take a bit of credit today? I think he can from a defensive point of view because he restricted Liverpool to very little attempts. So last week, you look at the Arsenal United game, I didn't give Mourinho a lot of credit for that display defensively because even though they kept Arsenal out, it was a combination of miracles and ridiculous saves and poor misses, i.e. the defence didn't do its job. It may have appeared like that looking at the scoreline, but in reality, the defensive display of Everton today was far, far superior to that of Man United's last week. So I give him a bit of credit for that. But then to show a lack of adventure, a complete lack of adventure, he's almost thrown the game and got lucky to get out of trouble. So it's in 2 parts for me. Yes, solid at the back, but if you don't score, you're going to lose most games 1-0. That's how it's going to be.
But I think Everton have something like today was the lowest possession amount in history of the Premier League. Really? I don't know if I heard that wrong, but it's something like 20-21%, which, I mean, talk about setting a standard from early on.
And the thing is, you'll get away with that away from home in a derby against a side who are clearly better than you currently, and you snatch a point. But at Goodison Park, I mean, they're not going to accept that. So he's going to have to get the balance right pretty quickly. I think he's got a tough job there because they are lacking in forward players who are at their peak. With Liverpool and Klopp, he defended his team selection quite aggressively in this interview.
He did, yeah.
And then he toned down a little bit. But this is one of my big bugbears with Mauricio Pochettino. Is managers these days, and Mauricio is probably the worst, they pick 2 games at a time. And what I'm saying is, Wednesday night, Liverpool got West Brom. I mean, do you need that much of a rest for that game? Probably not. The Champions League on last Wednesday, they were 3-0 up after about, 14 minutes. That's not a stressful afternoon. I'm sure Salah can run around for an extra 20 minutes. So I think he's picked... This is a derby. Pick your best team in the derby, your best available team, and then see what you're left with for the West Brom game and have a look then. I don't understand taking a player off just to rest him for 20 minutes. How much rest did he get?
Yeah.
Really? He's got no rest at all.
If you want to see how much Sam Allardyce is going to change his team in terms of how they're going to be working and be quite negative, look how much running Gylfi Sigurdsson did today. I've not seen him work like that before. I think he's going to have them drilled, but he's going to be negative. Going back to what Dan's saying about Klopp, I don't think it's always a case of 1 or 2 games at a time. It can just be a 5-6 weeks taking its toll. And he's thinking, you know what? What happens if I keep him on? He's absolutely shattered and he pulls up with a hamstring injury for 3-4 weeks. I mean, you saw what happened last year when they lost Mane. So, do you know what I mean? Sometimes I don't know if it's a prevention thing or...
I get that, but what I don't get is why wouldn't you take him off in midweek when you're already 4-0 up at half time? I think he played 90 minutes or close to. He scored the 7th goal, didn't he? So
that's a fair point. Yep.
You'd be taking him off then in a game where actually he's not required. Or if you were 2-0 up in this game, then take him off then. And if it backfires, you've been a little bit unlucky. But I didn't really see the point in that. I've got to be honest.
What I would say as well, just before we move on to the Manchester derby, is that I get what you guys are saying about Klopp, but I had the same sort of defence of Arsene Wenger after the Arsenal-Manchester United game. At the end of the day, he's picked a team that should have done enough to win that game. They had enough possession, they had enough chances, they had enough attempts. So I think that's as far as the manager's sort of responsibility can go at times. He's done what he needed to do. That team that he put out today was capable and should have beat Everton. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be. And I do feel sorry for him, and I have a bit of sympathy because I think a lot is going to be made now of the fact that he did take off Salah, which in actual fact might not have made a difference. Anyway, let's move on to the final game today. And it was the biggest game, heavyweight clash between Manchester United and Manchester City at Old Trafford. Alavi, is that Manchester United's title hopes now gone?
I think they were probably gone before the game, to be honest. I think City are now something like 17-1 on. Most bookmakers are probably going to start to pay out. So, yeah, it was their last chance. I don't even think City played that well. I don't think they've played well for some weeks. They've been error-prone. I don't know whether it's just Manchester United aren't clicking at the moment or whether City are just playing like champions do. But in terms of the title race, I think it was over before today, and now it's definitely over. And David Silva just shows age is nothing but a number. He's just finds pockets in between the midfielders and the defenders, and no one knows what to do with him. You know, KDB gets all the plaudits, but for me, David Silva is still the best creative player in the Premiership, and I really mean that.
It's funny, isn't it? Like a team that plays such pure, classy attacking football, but they scored 2 really scrappy goals today.
Yeah.
And obviously the United goal came from an error as well. Dan, let's get your thoughts on the penalty shout for Manchester United. And the Herrera went over. Did he dive or did he have a real shout for a penalty there?
No, I mean he's dived, hasn't he?
Yeah,
he's dived. This is the one where the contact is clearly not enough to knock him over, and he's tried to con the referee, and the referee didn't buy it. And in the modern day, if he doesn't go down, you'll get a load of pundits saying, "Oh, well, if he went down there, he might have got a penalty." So I think that's unfortunately drilled into players' heads now. And I mean, again, you can't be giving penalties for stuff like that when players are clearly throwing themselves to the floor. There's no real need for it, especially, I get it out of desperation with 5 or 10 minutes to go or whatever. Like a player trying it on and risking a booking, which ultimately is not a big deal, is it, getting booked? But pleased to see the ref on top of that one. And Mourinho obviously thought it was a penalty. I wonder if he really believes that or not. But
who knows? Alavi, we've spoken about Lukaku at length in the past. He had a stinker today. I know Dan texted earlier saying he should have stayed in bed. What did you make of Lukaku's performance? Are people pointing the finger sort of unjustly?
Well, I think that the price tag's always gonna come into that argument. It's a tough one. I don't think he's getting the service, and I don't think Mourinho at the moment feels like he can drop him. And with certain players, you drop them, and it gives them that sort of, kick up the arse that they need to just work. I don't think Lukaku's that type of player. I don't think he's a Wayne Rooney where you drop him and he's working hard in training and he wants to come back firing all cylinders. So I think Mourinho is in a position where he can't drop him. He should drop him. He hasn't really got anyone that fit to replace him. So he's stuck. And with that price tag, he's always going to get the blame. I don't think you can really say that he's getting enough service, to be honest. He's not got Silva and De Bruyne playing him sort of unbelievable Xavi, Iniesta type through balls, has he? But at the same time, when you go for that much money, more is expected. And he's never been the most intelligent footballer. And I think he showed that at times today with his decision-making. A bit like Mane did today as well.
Yeah. Dan, what did you make of Mourinho's post-match comments where he basically said Manchester City are lucky and they get decisions?
I think they were lucky today. I think they were lucky to win the game. Are they lucky generally? They're lucky that they've had a member of the Dubai royal family wake up one morning and decide he's going to buy them. I mean, that's pretty lucky, I guess. You take that one. But look, over the course of the season, when they win the league, it's not going to be because they've been lucky. It's because they've got better players, and the style of football that Pep Guardiola's got on playing works perfectly with those players. So much so that they haven't even got to worry about how weak their defence is, because they know they're going to score, 2 goals away from home at Old Trafford. How many goals have Man United conceded at home this season? 1, maybe.
Yeah,
I think it's 1. So that's it. And the thing is, Mourinho will be heartbroken because ultimately he has nullified them. You'd put your house on them being solid at set pieces, and that's where the 2 goals ultimately came from.
Yeah,
stupid goals. Lukaku at fault for both. The second one is what Alavi said. That's an unintelligent footballer just lashing a foot at the ball, who's not really comfortable being in a defensive position, and it ricocheted. He got punished. The first one is just unforgivable. That is, if that was an 8-year-old at under 9s, you would sub him off at half time. And training on Tuesday, you'd have people kicking balls at him because he closed his eyes and turned around.
Yeah.
And to find himself in the same position 10 minutes later, essentially costing him another goal, was. I mean, it's difficult for Mourinho to make a change at half time as to how he defends set pieces because he's worked on them all week in training, but that ultimately is what cost them the game. And Mourinho, known for finer details, I think on another day he might have switched it up a little bit. But a bit about the service. The thing with Lukaku, he's suffering from a bit of an identity crisis for me. I'm not sure what type of a player, what's his best position, because I mean, he was terrible against Tottenham. Obviously, I watched all of that game. But the bit where he was at his strongest was when he dropped back a little bit deeper, won a flick on, picked the ball up, and laid it off. As a lone striker, he's struggling at the moment. And even without service today, he's had 2 very, very good chances. One, he's blazed over the bar with no composure whatsoever. And the second one, I suppose it's unlucky when you're having a bad day, they hit the goalkeeper in the face. Any other day they go in. But you want him to be scoring them. I mean, all strikers miss chances. Harry Kane missed a pretty clear one on Saturday. Morata missed a really good chance as well.
Yeah.
So they seem to be happening in a row for him now. And I don't know what I'd do with him, to be totally honest. I think the sooner Ibrahimovic gets fit, the more options you've got there. You can drop him back, you can play him in a 2, you can give him some support, take the pressure off. But he's struggling in a United shirt at the moment.
Yeah,
He's struggling. He's 1 goal in 13, and that was in the Champions League. Not good enough.
Looks like he's starting to feel the weight of the price tag, guys.
But
that brings.
Speaking of weight, I did call him Fat Balotelli earlier, and that's how I feel about him. That's how I feel about him. I don't feel like I'm watching something special when I watch him play football.
Dan, you mentioned earlier about the subs. Is the highest scoring sub your old boy Defoe?
It is, yeah. Good knowledge.
I know, I've been in the back of my mind for about 20 minutes.
Someone's been on Google again this afternoon. Anyway, guys, that brings us to the end of this Sofa Sports News special. A massive thank you to Dan DeLuca and to Simon Alavi for joining us once again. If you're listening via iTunes, make sure you hit that subscribe button, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Sofa Sports News TV. We'll be back next week with more. Thanks again for listening.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.